My wife lied about being infertile for years while taking birth control, so I filed for divorce and took everything she thought she'd keep. I'm a 33-year-old guy, and for as long as I can remember, I dreamed of being a dad. Not the picture-perfect movie kind of dad, just someone who'd come home to laughter, messy toys, and little arms wrapping around his legs. Growing up without much affection made me crave that kind of warmth. When I met Lauren 8 years ago, I thought I'd finally found someone who wanted the same thing. She was 31 then, sharp and confident, the kind of woman who walked into a room and made everyone stop talking for a second. We connected instantly, shared values, same dark humor, and both of us said we wanted a family someday soon. Our first few years felt like a dream. We bought a small house in the suburbs, saved up together, built a life that felt steady. She was career-driven but promised that once things settled at work, we'd start trying. I remember how she used to smile whenever we'd pass a family in the park. She'd squeeze my hand and say, "One day that'll be us." I believed her. I built my world around that promise. Then, year after year, someday turned into not yet. I tried to stay patient, thinking maybe the timing just wasn't right. But when we finally started trying, nothing happened. Month after month, disappointment piled up until she broke down crying one night, saying she'd been to the doctor, that she was infertile. Her voice cracked when she said it, and I held her, feeling her tears soak through my shirt. I remember whispering, "It's okay. We'll figure it out," even as something in me broke. I thought I was comforting her, but really, I was saying goodbye to a dream I'd carried since childhood. I didn't know it yet, but the real betrayal wasn't her infertility. It was her lies. When Lauren told me she was infertile, I remember the way her hands shook. She sat at the kitchen table, head buried in her palms, whispering, "The doctor said it's not possible for me." The words didn't register at first. They just floated in the air like smoke, slowly choking the life out of me. I wanted to ask 100 questions, but one look at her tear-streaked face stopped me. I wasn't going to be the guy who made her feel worse. So instead, I wrapped my arms around her and said, "We'll get through this, together." For weeks after, I tried to convince myself that love was enough. I bought her flowers, cooked dinner, even planned a small weekend getaway to take her mind off things. But she barely looked at me. Every time I mentioned adoption or surrogacy, she flinched, like the very idea disgusted her. "I can't raise another woman's child," she snapped once, her voice low but sharp. I tried to reason with her, telling her family wasn't about blood, it was about love. She just shook her head. "You wouldn't understand." Her words cut deeper than she realized. I started questioning myself, my worth, my masculinity, even my patience. Nights became silent. We'd sit on opposite ends of the couch, pretending the TV could fill the distance between us. I'd lie awake staring at the ceiling, imagining the life we were supposed to have. The laughter that never came. The nursery we never built. I told myself it wasn't her fault, that fate had just dealt us a cruel hand. But deep down, there was a small, gnawing feeling I couldn't silence. Something about her story didn't sit right. Her doctor visits, her sudden outbursts, her refusal to talk about it, they all felt rehearsed. And as much as I wanted to bury the doubt, it was already growing roots. The months after her diagnosis felt like living with a stranger. Lauren withdrew into herself completely. No affection, no warmth, just a polite kind of silence. We used to stay up late talking about our future, but now even a simple question like, "How was your day?" felt intrusive. She'd nod absently, eyes glued to her phone, scrolling endlessly. Sometimes I'd catch her typing quickly, then locking the screen the second I walked in. I told myself it was work. It had to be. At first I tried to be understanding. I told her we could see a couples therapist, maybe talk through the grief of infertility together. She shot that down immediately. "I don't want some stranger judging us," she said coldly. The way she said us made me realize she didn't see us as a team anymore. It was her against me, or maybe her against something she couldn't admit. Our bed turned cold, literally and emotionally. She started sleeping with her back to me, saying she was just tired. I stopped trying after a while. I'd lie there, staring at the faint light of her phone screen, illuminating her face, wondering who she was texting at midnight. The laughter I used to love hearing from her became rare, replaced by sighs and irritation. One night, as I washed the dishes, I overheard her in the hallway whispering on the phone. Her tone was soft, almost playful, a tone I hadn't heard directed at me in years. When I stepped out, she quickly hung up. "Wrong number," she said, her smile tight and brittle. I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. Because the alternative, that my wife was lying to me about everything, was too painful to accept. But deep down, something told me the truth was about to surface. It happened on a Tuesday. One of those ordinary evenings that somehow ends up changing your entire life. Lauren had left her phone on the kitchen counter while she was upstairs showering. I wasn't snooping. I was just cleaning up when her screen lit up with a notification. A message from her pharmacy app read, "Your birth control refill is ready for pickup." For a few seconds, my brain refused to process what I was seeing. I just stood there, dish towel in hand, staring at the words like they were written in another language. Birth control, refill, pickup. My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it echoing in my ears. I checked the date. The message was current. She wasn't infertile. She never was. When she came downstairs, I was shaking. "Lauren," I said quietly, holding up her phone. "What is this?" Her expression flickered just for a moment before she forced a nervous laugh. "Oh, that? It's for hormone regulation," she said too quickly. "I asked which doctor prescribed it." She hesitated. Then she said, "Dr. Keller. The problem?" That was the fertility specialist she'd claimed told her she couldn't have kids. The room went silent. I could hear the hum of the refrigerator, the faint dripping of the faucet. My throat tightened as I asked, "You've been taking this the whole time?" Her eyes darted away. "It's not what you think," she whispered. But it was exactly what I thought. In that moment, every memory, the tears, the excuses, the fights about adoption, snapped into place like cruel puzzle pieces. She hadn't been broken by infertility. She'd built an elaborate lie to avoid motherhood entirely. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just stared at her and said, "You let me mourn something that wasn't even real." That night, something in me shut off completely. I barely slept that night. I sat on the edge of the bed staring at the dark, listening to Lauren's slow, even breathing. I couldn't understand how someone could lie so easily, so calmly about something that shattered another person's soul. By morning, the numbness had burned away, replaced by a deep, simmering anger. When she walked into the kitchen in her robe, pretending nothing had happened, I finally snapped. "Tell me the truth," I said, my voice shaking. "How long have you been on birth control?" She froze mid-sip of her coffee. "What are you talking about?" "Don't lie to me again, Lauren." I saw the pharmacy alert. "You told me you were infertile. You let me believe—" My voice cracked. "You let me think we were broken when it was just you." Her mask slipped. For a second, the guilt showed. Then she sighed, setting her mug down with an almost irritated calm. "Fine," she said. I never stopped taking it. I just stared at her. "Why?" she shrugged. "Because I'm not ready to be a mother. I have a career, a life, things I still want to do. You wouldn't understand. That last line, it was like being punched in the chest. I'd sacrificed years for her, worked overtime, skipped vacations, built our entire life around the idea of starting a family together. And now she looked at me like I was the selfish one for wanting what she promised. "You lied to me," I whispered. She crossed her arms. "I did what was best for me," I laughed, bitter and hollow. "Then I guess it's time I start doing what's best for me too." Her eyes narrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" I didn't answer. But in that silence, I think she finally felt the shift, the moment I stopped being her husband and started becoming her consequence. A week passed after that confrontation, but the silence between us said everything. Lauren acted distant but oddly unbothered, like she expected me to just get over it. She still went to work early, came home late, and locked her phone every time I entered the room. I told myself I was done digging, that I'd had enough pain already. But when your life feels like a lie, the mind doesn't rest. It claws for answers, even when it knows the truth will destroy you. One night, I got a message from her coworker, Jenna, someone I barely knew, but who'd always been kind at company dinners. Her text started with, "I don't know if you know what's really going on, but you deserve to." My heart dropped. I called her immediately. Her voice trembled as she said, "Lauren's been having an affair?" "For years. With her boss." I remember gripping the phone so tight my knuckles turned white. "That's impossible," I muttered, but Jenna kept talking. She told me about the business trips that weren't really business, the hotel bookings paid for by the company card, and the way Lauren bragged about keeping her options open. Every denial I'd told myself shattered right there. The infertility lie wasn't about her career, it was about him. She didn't want kids because they'd ruin the double life she'd been living. I sat in my car for hours after that call, watching rain smear across the windshield, feeling like the universe had gone quiet. When she came home that night, I didn't confront her. I couldn't. I just looked at her, this woman I'd once loved more than anything, and felt absolutely nothing. That was the night something inside me shifted for good. I stopped seeing her as my wife. I saw her as an enemy wearing my wedding ring. After that night, I made a promise to myself. No more anger, no more pleading. Just quiet, deliberate action. Lauren still thought she was in control, that I was broken, dependent, and too heartsick to fight back. She had no idea I already knew everything. That the man she texted under fake work names, the late-night meetings, the fake trips. I had proof now. Screenshots, messages, even a photo Jenna sent of them together at a hotel bar. I started playing my part, the patient, heartbroken husband trying to make peace. I still made her morning coffee, still asked how her day was. I wanted her comfortable, predictable. Because I'd already met with a lawyer. When I told him everything, the lies about infertility, the affair, the years of deception, he didn't even blink. If what you're saying is true, you'll come out ahead, he said, sliding a notepad across the desk. Start documenting everything, so I did. Every withdrawal from our joint account, every work trip, every vague email she sent. I transferred my personal savings into a separate account under my name. I even started moving my valuables, the heirloom watch from my dad, important documents, into a safe deposit box. And through it all, I kept up the act. When she laughed at her phone, I smiled. When she came home late, I kissed her cheek. Inside, I was hollow but focused. Each fake smile was another brick in the wall between us. Sometimes she'd glance at me strangely, maybe sensing something different in my eyes. Once, she even asked, "Are we okay?" I looked right at her and said, "We will be." She smiled, relieved, never realizing that those words weren't a promise. They were a countdown. A few weeks later, Lauren told me she was going on another business trip. 3 days in Chicago, same company, same hotel she'd used before. By then, I already knew what that meant. I didn't even need Jenna to confirm it. My gut screamed the truth. But still, part of me needed to see it with my own eyes, needed to burn away any last trace of denial. So I followed her. I waited in my car across the street from the hotel, hands gripping the steering wheel so hard they hurt. Around 7 p.m., I saw her pull up in a taxi, laughing, hair perfect, heels clicking on the pavement like she was walking into a dream instead of a betrayal. Then he appeared, her boss. Tall, confident, his hand sliding to the small of her back as they walked into the lobby together. She leaned into him like it was second nature. Like I'd never existed, I couldn't move. My whole body went cold, my breath shallow. I watched them check in, smile, kiss in the elevator reflection. It felt like I was watching my life collapse in real time. I drove home on autopilot. No music, no thoughts, just silence and the faint ringing in my ears. When I walked into our bedroom, everything looked the same. Her makeup scattered on the vanity, her favorite blanket folded neatly at the end of the bed. I sat down and stared at it until the tears finally came. I'd given her everything, my loyalty, my time, my love, and she'd used it like currency for someone else's attention. That night, I understood what real emptiness felt like. Not anger, not grief, just this hollow ache where my soul used to be. And in that emptiness, something inside me whispered, "It's time to take it all back." The morning after I saw her with him, something inside me switched off. No more tears, no more confusion, just a cold surgical focus. I wasn't going to scream or beg or ask why. I was going to make sure that when she lost everything, she'd finally understand what betrayal feels like. I met my lawyer again that afternoon. We went over every detail, the fake infertility, the years of deception, the affair. He nodded slowly, then said, "You've got her cornered. Play it calm. Don't let her suspect anything until the papers are ready." That line became my mantra. I spent the next week quietly setting the stage. I made copies of our financial records and transferred my half of everything, the house, the car, the savings, into a protected account. I canceled shared credit cards, changed my passwords, and updated every legal document I could. Even her favorite furniture, the things she bragged about buying, were technically under my name. She had no idea. At home, I played the perfect husband again. I asked about her trip, listened to her lies, even kissed her forehead when she said she was exhausted from all the meetings. Inside, I was stone. One evening, as we sat at dinner, she smiled across the table and said, "I'm glad we're finally in a better place." I almost laughed. She mistook my silence for peace when it was really preparation. I looked up, forced a smile, and said softly, "Yeah, I think everything's finally falling into place." She smiled back, completely unaware that she'd just toasted to her own destruction. It was a Friday evening, the kind of night that used to mean takeout and a movie. Lauren came home dressed in a crisp white blouse and heels, looking every bit the professional she pretended to be. I had dinner ready, candles lit, wine poured. She smiled, surprised. "Wow, this is nice," she said, slipping her purse onto the counter. "Yeah," I replied calmly. "I thought we should celebrate." "Celebrate what?" "Our future," I said, sliding a neatly sealed envelope across the table. She looked puzzled, then opened it. I watched her eyes move across the first page, and in an instant her smile vanished. "What is this?" she whispered. "Divorce papers," I said evenly. "Signed, filed, effective immediately." Her hand trembled. "You can't be serious." "Oh, I'm dead serious," I interrupted. "You lied about being infertile. You kept me in a marriage built on deceit. And you cheated on me with your boss. I've got proof of all of it." Her face went pale. You don't know what you're talking about." I pulled out my phone and placed it on the table. One swipe, photos, texts, hotel bookings, bank transfers, all right there. The color drained from her cheeks. "This isn't happening," she said, her voice cracking. "It already has," I replied. "You'll be moving out by the end of the week. Everything you thought you'd keep, the house, the savings, the car, they're mine. You forfeited that the second you started lying." She started crying, reaching for my hand. "Please, I made a mistake," I pulled back. "No, Lauren. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. You made choices. For the first time in years, I felt completely calm. Not angry, not heartbroken, just free." She collapsed into the chair, sobbing, whispering, "You can't do this to me." I stood, pushed my chair in, and said quietly, "No, Lauren. You did this to yourself." The days that followed were quiet, eerily quiet. Lauren packed her things slowly, moving through the house like a ghost. I'd already signed the final documents, closed our joint accounts, and given her a week to leave. She barely spoke, except to whisper half-hearted apologies that came too late to mean anything. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. I thought that would be the end of it, a clean break. But karma had one more twist waiting for her. A few weeks later, I got a call from Jenna. "You won't believe this," she said. Her voice was shaking, half with shock, half with satisfaction. HR opened an internal investigation. Someone reported her relationship with her boss. Apparently, corporate found the affair, traced financial inconsistencies, business funds used for trips, gift receipts, and hotel bookings. Within a week, her boss resigned, and Lauren was fired for breaching company policy. No severance. No references. Just disgrace. Part of me wanted to gloat, to feel victorious, but all I felt was tired. Watching her life unravel didn't bring joy. It just confirmed that lies always come with a cost, even when the truth takes its time. I saw photos of her through mutual friends later, living in a small apartment, looking thinner, duller, like someone had drained the color from her world. One evening, she called. I let it ring 5 times before answering. Her voice was soft, broken. "You got what you wanted," she said. "No," I told her calmly. "I just stopped letting you take what you wanted." There was a long pause. Then she whispered, "I hope you're happy." I hung up without answering, because happiness wasn't what I felt. It was peace. A quiet, steady kind of peace that only comes after the storm finally burns itself out. A year has passed since the divorce. And sometimes, when I wake up in the quiet of my new apartment, I almost don't recognize my life. No tension, no lies, no hollow apologies echoing down the hallway. Just peace. Real earned peace. The kind that comes when you finally stop trying to save someone who never wanted to be saved. In the beginning, it was hard. There were nights I'd wake up reaching for her out of habit, then remember everything: the deceit, the pills, the laughter she shared with someone else. It used to crush me. But slowly, that pain turned into something else: strength, clarity, freedom. I started therapy, began running again, even reconnected with friends I'd lost during my marriage. For the first time in years, I felt like me. Then one afternoon, I found myself at a park, sitting on a bench watching a dad chase his toddler through the grass. The kid tripped and the father scooped him up, laughing. That moment hit me harder than I expected. It wasn't sadness anymore. It was a promise. I realized that even though Lauren had lied about everything, she couldn't destroy the part of me that still wanted to love, to build, to nurture. I'm looking into adoption now. The idea scares me, doing it alone, but it also excites me. Because this time, I'll build a family not out of illusion or manipulation, but out of truth. Out of choice. Sometimes people ask if I'd ever take her back. I just smile. Because she didn't just lie about infertility. She tried to rob me of hope. But hope isn't hers to take anymore. She lied to keep control. And in losing her, I found my freedom.